My brothers and sisters, let me begin by telling you something we all know deep inside, but often forget in practice. Love is not proven by what comes out of our mouths. It is proven by what flows from our lives. Words are easy, but actions cost something. Real love always shows up in deeds. You can tell someone you care 100 times, but if your actions don't back it up, your words become empty noise. The power of love is never measured in the promises we make. It is measured in the sacrifices we're willing to give. You see, anyone can talk about love, but true love requires demonstration. It is patient, it forgives. It gives without expecting a return. And it shows up when it's inconvenient. Love is far more than an emotion we feel or a phrase we repeat. It is a force that moves us to act. When love is genuine, it cannot remain passive. It pushes us to step outside ourselves, to give, to serve, and to demonstrate care in ways that make a real difference. Words can be beautiful, but without deeds to support them, they fall flat. True love is not measured by how eloquently we say, "I care about you," but by the daily actions that prove those words to be authentic. Love, in its purest form, is active. It involves sacrifice, intentionality, and consistency. We all know that good intentions are easy. Anyone can intend to help, intend to be there, intend to show care. But intention without action leaves people still feeling empty and unloved. Love demands that we go beyond what we mean to do and actually show up when we are needed. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It acts even when it is inconvenient or uncomfortable. Love shows itself in listening when we are tired, giving when we feel stretched, and standing by someone when others walk away. This is the heart of love as action. It is not about what we say we will do, but about what we actually do. Actions reveal the truth of our hearts. When someone consistently acts in ways that show patience, kindness, forgiveness, or generosity, we begin to trust their love because it is something we can see and experience. On the other hand, if someone says they love us but never makes time, never sacrifices, or never shows up, eventually their words ring hollow. Love demands evidence, and that evidence is always found in deeds. Another aspect of love in action is that it often costs us something. Real love may require us to give up our comfort, our time, or even our pride. It is easy to love when it doesn't inconvenience us, but true love shines brightest when it is costly. Choosing to forgive when it hurts. Standing by someone in their darkest moment, or serving even when no one else notices. These are actions that prove love's depth. An excellent example of this can be seen in the story of a nurse who worked in a hospital ward for the elderly. Every morning, she would go beyond her assigned duties. She didn't just deliver medicine or check charts. She took time to sit with patients, hold their hands, and listen to their stories. One patient in particular had no family visiting him. He often said, "No one cares about me." The nurse could have told him, "I care." and left it at that. Instead, she proved it daily through her actions. She read him the newspaper, brought him small treats, and even stayed late some evenings, just so he wouldn't feel alone. For that patient, her deeds carried a message louder than any words could. You are loved. This is what love as action looks like. It's not flashy. It's not always dramatic, but it is consistent and real. It is shown in deeds that speak louder than words ever could. And it leaves an imprint that lasts long after the words are forgotten. Words carry power, but without the weight of action, they eventually lose their meaning. It is easy to say the right thing, to express affection, loyalty, or commitment, but the true measure of those words is found in the deeds that follow. When love or care is expressed only through speech, it risks becoming empty, hollow, and ineffective. People do not only listen to what we say, they watch what we do. And when our actions fail to align with our words, the words lose credibility. In truth, words without deeds are like promises without fulfillment. They sound good in the moment, but leave disappointment in their wake. Love, trust, and loyalty require confirmation. Words can inspire and uplift, but only deeds can solidify belief. A person can tell their child every single day, I love you. But if they never spend time listening to that child, never show up at important moments, or consistently place other priorities above them, the child will eventually feel neglected. The words, though frequent, will carry no weight because the deeds have not backed them up. Similarly, in relationships, saying, I love you or I'll always be there holds little value if selfishness, neglect, or inconsistency tells a different story. Deeds are the proof that words are true, the evidence that love is more than sentiment. We live in a world filled with promises. Politicians promise change, friends promise loyalty, couples promise forever. But when actions do not match those promises, disillusionment follows. That is why integrity is so deeply tied to love expressed in deeds. When someone does what they say, when their actions align with their words, it builds trust. But when the opposite happens, when the talk is big but the effort is small, trust erodes and relationships weaken. The truth is, deeds give words their power. A simple I care about you gains depth and richness when followed by consistent action, by showing up, by serving, by investing time. Without that, the words remain shallow. Actions are what transform sentiments into reality, what turns promises into lived experience. A powerful example of this can be seen in the life of a teacher who worked in an underfunded school. She would tell her students daily, "You matter, and I believe in you." But she didn't stop with those words. She stayed after school to tutor them, bought supplies from her own pocket when they couldn't afford them, and even visited their homes to encourage struggling parents. For those children, it wasn't just her words that made them believe in their worth. It was her deeds that proved her sincerity. Years later, Many of those students would say they didn't just remember what she said, but what she did. Her actions gave life to her words. This is the essence of why words without deeds are empty. They may sound pleasant, but only when they are reinforced by consistent action do they carry the power to change hearts and shape lives. Without deeds, words fade into the background. With deeds, words become unforgettable. Love shows its truest form, not when everything is easy, but when it requires sacrifice. Real love is not about convenience, comfort, or doing what feels good in the moment. It is about commitment, a willingness to put someone else's needs above our own. Sacrifice is the true currency of love because it demands something costly. It asks us to give up time, energy, pride, or even personal desires for the sake of another. Without sacrifice, love remains shallow. With it, love proves itself genuine. When relationships are built only on convenience, they quickly crumble when challenges arise. If love is dependent on circumstances being favorable, it cannot withstand trials. True love, however, endures because it is rooted in commitment, not comfort. It forgives even when forgiveness feels undeserved. It shows patience when impatience would be easier. And it keeps standing by someone when walking away would seem more convenient. Sacrifice often hurts, but it is in that very pain that the depth of love is revealed. Love that sacrifices also demonstrates strength of character. It means serving when you are tired, choosing humility when pride wants to take over, and remaining faithful when temptations pull in other directions. Such sacrifices may never make headlines, but they are the daily decisions that sustain families, friendships, and marriages. In fact, the greatness of love is most clearly seen not in moments of pleasure, but in moments of pressure. Love is tested when life becomes hard, and the choice to sacrifice for another person is what makes that love unforgettable. Sacrifice does not always mean giving up something material. Sometimes it is about giving up the right to be right, choosing peace over winning an argument, or setting aside personal ambitions for the good of someone else. It could be as small as putting aside your phone to give full attention to someone who needs you, or as big as rearranging your entire life for the well-being of your family. Whatever form it takes, sacrifice always leaves a lasting imprint on the heart of the one receiving it. A powerful example of love through sacrifice can be seen in the story of a young husband whose wife was diagnosed with a chronic illness shortly after their marriage. Life suddenly shifted from romantic dinners and carefree weekends to doctor visits, treatments, and nights filled with exhaustion. Many people told him it would be too much to carry, that he was still young and could walk away. But instead, he chose to stay. He rearranged his work schedule to care for her, learned how to administer her medications, and often spent sleepless nights by her side when pain kept her awake. For him, love was not about convenience. It was about commitment. His sacrifice proved that his words, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, were not just a promise, but a lived reality. His love spoke louder in his deeds of sacrifice than any words ever could. This is what makes love extraordinary. It is not proven in comfort, but in cost. Sacrifice transforms ordinary affection into extraordinary devotion. It is the undeniable evidence that love is real. And it is through sacrifice that love leaves a legacy that endures far beyond words. Love is never meant to remain confined within the boundaries of one person's heart or a single relationship. Real love has a multiplying effect. It spreads, inspires, and leaves a mark far beyond the one who gives and the one who receives. When love is shown in deeds, it does not stop at the immediate moment. It plants seeds that grow into something much greater. One act of kindness, one sacrifice, or one selfless gesture can influence countless lives in ways we may never fully see. Love's power lies not only in what it does for the individual, but in how it shapes families, strengthens communities, and even transforms generations. Often, people underestimate the reach of a single loving deed. We tend to think our actions are small or insignificant, but love never goes unnoticed. When someone chooses to act in love, by helping, forgiving, or serving, it sets an example that others often carry forward. In that way, love creates a ripple effect, much like a stone thrown into a pond, where the waves extend far beyond the point of impact. The beauty of love is that it inspires imitation. When people experience genuine care, they are more inclined to show it to others. This is why love has the power to change the culture of a home, a workplace, or even an entire community. A family where love is consistently demonstrated becomes a safe place where children learn what it means to care for others. And they carry that lesson into the world. A workplace where love is shown through encouragement, respect, and fairness becomes a place where people thrive. A community where love is expressed in service and compassion becomes a place where trust grows. Love does not stay hidden. It spreads outward, creating an atmosphere where lives are elevated. Another important truth is that love's impact can outlive the moment in which it was expressed. Many people can recall, even decades later, a simple act of love that changed the course of their lives. A word of encouragement paired with a selfless deed can empower someone to keep going when they feel like giving up. This is how love continues to move beyond the self. It builds legacies of kindness and faithfulness that endure long after the deed is done. A clear example of this can be seen in the story of a woman who decided to open a small food kitchen in her neighborhood. At first, she simply wanted to help a few struggling families who didn't have enough to eat. She cooked meals out of her own kitchen and delivered them quietly, but word spread. Soon, neighbors began volunteering to help her cook. Others started donating food and resources. What began as a single woman's act of love grew into a community-wide movement, feeding hundreds of families each month. Even children who once came for meals grew up to volunteer at the same kitchen, inspired by the love they had received. Her simple act of care created a ripple that touched lives across generations. This is the power of love beyond self. It never stops with us. It moves through us to others, shaping the world in ways we cannot fully measure. When we live out love in deeds, we are not just helping one person, we are investing in a legacy that reaches farther than we can imagine. Love multiplies, and its impact goes far beyond the self, leaving a trail of hope and transformation wherever it flows. The truest test of love is not in what we say, but in what we actually do. Especially when no one is watching and there is nothing to gain. Love exposes the character of a person because it is shown in actions that reveal the heart's true condition. A person's real measure of love is not found in how they treat those who can offer them something in return, but in how they treat those who cannot repay them, those who are overlooked, or those who may never even notice the sacrifice. Love is not about appearances, it is about integrity, and integrity is what you do when the spotlight is gone. Character is revealed in the quiet choices of everyday life. It is revealed when we choose to forgive rather than hold a grudge, when we choose patience rather than anger, when we extend kindness to someone who cannot advance our career or boost our reputation. These small but significant decisions display who we really are at the core. Anyone can act lovingly when it is convenient, when the crowd is watching, or when there is a benefit to be gained. But genuine love flows out of the heart in hidden places. It is selfless, not self-seeking, and it reflects inner character more than outward performance. This is why love cannot be faked for long. Words can be crafted and appearances can be maintained. But deeds that reveal love come from a place deep within. Sooner or later, the truth about a person's heart will come to light through how they act. Do they show respect to the person who serves them in a restaurant? Do they extend compassion to the person who is struggling, even when there is no recognition? Do they give their best when no one applauds? These moments reveal the depth of a person's love and, in turn, the strength of their character. Love that reveals character also has a way of earning trust. People may not always remember the words we say, but they rarely forget the way we treated them. Over time, consistent deeds of love speak volumes about who we are. They form the reputation of our character in the minds of others. True love shown in action becomes the evidence that we are reliable, faithful, and genuine. A powerful example of this can be seen in the story of a janitor who worked in a large corporate building. Most people passed by him without a second thought, but one executive consistently greeted him warmly, took time to ask how his day was, and even helped him carry supplies when the load was heavy. He never did this in front of others to gain recognition. He did it quietly because he cared. One day, when that executive faced a serious health crisis, It was this janitor who organized an effort among the staff to support him and his family. The love the executive had shown in small, unseen ways had revealed his character, and it came back to him multiplied. His deeds had spoken louder than any words ever could. That is why love reveals character. It shows what resides in the heart when there is no applause and no audience. It is the truest reflection of who we are. And it is through consistent deeds of love that our character is both revealed and remembered. Imagine a father who tells his daughter every day, "I love you." But he never shows up to her school events, never takes time to hear her heart, never sacrifices to be present. Over time, those words lose their power. But picture another father who may not always say the words, but he shows up, he sacrifices, he listens, he invests. Which one do you think that daughter will remember as love? Words fade, but deeds leave a mark that cannot be erased. So, let us not settle for a love that is only spoken. Let us pursue a love that is lived out, a love that serves, a love that gives, a love that sacrifices. Because love that is only in words may sound sweet, but love that is shown in deeds has the power to transform lives. My friends, don't just speak love. Demonstrate it. Don't just promise love. Prove it. And when your deeds back up your words, you won't just be talking about love, you'll be living it. And that kind of love never fails.